The song goes, I know you can't help it, misunderstood. The road it gets so lonely when you're trying to do what's good. But I see behind your eyes.
Hi, Trenyce. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Rachel. How are you doing?
You're welcome. I'm doing really well. I'm laughing because the last time I saw you, we were on a private jet, having cocktails in downtown,
Yes,
which
we
of
were.
course was all a facade. It was all a set, but it felt so real.
It felt so real, and it looks really good on camera.
You saw it?
Just a little snippet, just a little snippet. You were great, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, you were wonderful.
You are a triple threat. You sing, you dance, you act, and you've had a very exciting life. I definitely feel you are celebrity status. And,
Thank you.
Our paths cross in such a unique way. And doing a deep dive on your background, it sounds like coming from Tennessee to LA, you took many detours and have performed all over our country, all over the world. So are there any
Yes.
highlights you want to share?
Oh my gosh. I feel like I have lived 9 lives. I'm not going to lie. One of the highlights I would love to share with you is when I lived in London. Um, it was a huge decision that I made to just pack up in a weekend because I auditioned in Los Angeles for this West End show called Thriller that celebrated Michael Jackson's music. And by the weekend, they were like, okay, you have to fly out. So I had to literally pack up my apartment. I had a roommate. We just moved in like 3 months prior.
Oh, no.
And I had to leave her there, send the money home until she could find another roommate. It was such a catastrophe. But what was supposed to be a 6-month contract turned into a 6-year contract. So I lived in London for 6 years, took a little break for a year because my father became ill, went to China, went back to London, traveled all around Europe with the show, went back to the West End, and then decided after shooting a Marvel film there, Kick-Ass 2, I said, you know what? I'm going to just go home because I felt like there was something more that I needed to do in LA. And as soon as I got back to LA, I got a great agent. I was booking and working. And yeah, but living in London was the highlight, I think, for my 30s
Mm.
because it was me finally moving into a space that I wanted to move in for my entire life, learning the tube on my own, learning this new city on my own, learning how to take the trains on my own, going to Paris, going to Germany, speaking different languages. I mean, it was such a huge change from what I was used to when I was on American Idol. And it just kept going. And once I did that, I felt like, you know what? I can do this. Like, there's nothing like traveling. There's nothing like traveling and seeing the world for yourself. So that was a huge moment. It was sort of like yeah, it was like my baptism into womanhood, it felt like.
I love that. How tremendous that you brought that
Yeah.
up before you brought American Idol up. I
Yeah.
love that. That says a lot about
Yeah.
you. It really does.
Yeah.
That real living, real exploring, experiencing was the top on your list of
Yeah.
life-changing experiences. How did you ever end up on American Idol? What motivated you to do that? Where were you in your life at that time?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I was a receptionist at a car dealership.
I love it.
I had gotten fired from selling the cars because I was too honest. But they loved my personality, so they were like, okay, we're just going to keep you as the receptionist because we don't want to fire you. And I said, okay, okay, thank you. But while that was going on, the first season of American Idol happened, and I got a chance to watch Kelly Clarkson win, and I thought she was phenomenal. And I remember watching the show and saying, I could do that, and if they have another season, I'm going to look it up. So my best friend and I was watching the finale, and they put, I think, at the end of the episode that they were going to have a second season, and I immediately got on the www dot because that was, internet was new, and I researched it, and they said they were going to come to Nashville, which was just 2 hours away from me in Memphis, Tennessee. So my best friend and I, when it came time, I think it was in October, I had to audition 6 times.
Wow.
You audition so many times before you get to the judges. You audition for the producers. You audition for just the assistant. You audition. I mean, there was so many auditions, but the main audition, I was in line for 3 days. It rained and was cold every single day that we were there. People were
No.
stepping out of line, going to get tarps so that they could keep their voices warm. It was insane. And there were I think it was 5,000, maybe 3,000, 5,000 people in line, and they only took the first 500.
And you were in the first 500.
And I was in the first 500. I think I was 146 or
Your
I
lucky
don't remember the
number.
number anymore. I don't remember the number anymore, but it was in the 100s, and I literally was like, I could have had to drive to another place to audition, which most people did. They had to go to the next city. So got inside. My voice was terrible. Everybody's voices were terrible because we had been on a rooftop for 3 days in the rain. And so I ended up having to sing a song that was in the range of my voice at that time. And I think I sang I Learned from the Best by Whitney Houston. So, yeah, that was how I ended up getting on the show. I finally met Paula, Simon, and Randy in Nashville. I think it was the third day, and the rest was history. And then they gave me the ticket to go to Hollywood, and I stayed on there for 14 weeks.
What a tremendous experience. I mean,
It was.
things definitely happen for you. And I know there's a lot of fate, luck, but there's also so much
Yeah,
perseverance and preparation.
yeah.
How did you prepare for that opportunity? For those actors listening, those singers listening, we all want that opportunity. I know it doesn't, like, it's hard to get it, but you have to be ready when it comes.
I am so glad that you asked that question because, well, number one, it's true. I had gotten a full music scholarship, and I was in college, and my mother was like, you have to have a backup plan. I know you want to do this music thing. I had been doing it since I was 14. My mother would go with me to dive bars and stuff like that. I couldn't get paid until I was 16. So it was all sort of like just getting my feet wet, and allowing people to give me feedback. And one of the things that they would tell me was, she has a great voice, but she's boring. What is she doing? She's not moving around. She's not engaging. So I had to learn how to perform by actually being on the job and taking that criticism between the ages of 14. And I'm going to go as far as to say 17, because I still wasn't really living in my body yet as a performer. You know how that is as an actor. It didn't
I
click
do.
to me to be authentic yet. I thought I had to put on a show, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And what works best is when you're authentically yourself. And sometimes that means moving around, and sometimes that means just standing there and emoting, and allowing people in. And I had not quite figured that out. So when I went to college, full ride, I double majored. So my full ride was for music, but I also majored in nursing.
Nursing.
And it was difficult. I told my mother, I was like, Mom, I think you're underestimating that music is going to be difficult. And she was like, you've done this with your eyes closed. I'm like, eh. But it's the technical things that you have to learn. It's the um, it's those monotonous things. It's the A to Z that I didn't know. So that became hard. Theory, I might as well have been in microbiology twice because theory was just as difficult. And so one day I'm sitting in my microbiology class and I'm trying to maintain A's and B's in both of these different paths that I'm taking. And I wasn't able to do it. I had like a little mini breakdown and I had to call my mom and say, listen, I know you're going to be upset, but I'm going to drop out of nursing. And she was upset. And then she said, okay, you know what? I will give you 1 year to make it. And in that time, Idol happened. So within
Oh,
those 6 months, yeah, it was just meant to be, but like you said, I had already been preparing like my whole life as a singer. My parents sang in a singing group before I came along. They met in a singing group and they were initially signed to Stax Records. So music has always been a part of my family, but learning the jewels and gems and how to sing and how to present and all of that came over time. And by the time I got to college, I had the most amazing professor who told everyone, listen, you don't know how to sing and you don't know music until you have a favorite song in every genre.
I love that. Do we
So
want to give that teacher a shout out?
yes, his name was Dr. Edwards, and to my knowledge, he's still there. He's at the University of Memphis still.
Great.
Incredible, incredible professor.
It's phenomenal when a teacher can affect your life like that. I've had so many. I've been so grateful.
Absolutely.
So,
We were blessed to have that. I'm not really sure, if this generation has as many teachers that are that committed.
I hope so.
But
I try to
I hope
be.
so too.
I try to be.
Oh,
I
me
hope
too. Me
I,
too.
you
Yeah.
too. Oh, you teach as well.
Yeah, I teach acting and singing for kids.
Oh, I love that. Where can people study with you? I have so many kids that are pursuing acting and singing.
Really? Oh my gosh. Okay, so alltrinice.com.
Okay.
You just fill out the form and I get back to you.
Is it
Yeah,
online?
absolutely.
Is it on Zoom?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I
Mm-hmm.
teach on Zoom too. I think it's wonderful. I think it makes it possible for everyone around the world
I
to
I
study.
agree.
Okay, so those of you listening, you take adults as well, or just
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
kids? Just kids. Adults too. Okay,
Well,
good
it's
to know.
both. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
It's so nice to pass it on, isn't it?
It's amazing. And it's something that I didn't think that I was gonna love, but I started right before COVID, and it was the perfect way to kind of get through that experience and still
Yes.
give back and not feel like I was just doing nothing with my time. So I
Ditto.
love it. Yeah.
Yes. Ditto. It got me through the lockdown.
It did.
I know. Did nursing did you take anything away from the nursing? I'm curious because you did study it for a
Ooh,
year, right?
well, 2 years. You know what it is? I think that I am naturally a caretaker. And because we're still doing that. When we teach, that's a form of caretaking. It's a form of watching someone grow from the embryonic stage of something to being healed or to get better or to, help usher them back into the world as a whole person. And so um, nursing for me did that. And even now, when people are sick or when they need something, I'm the person that's just like, let me do it. I'll pop it, I'll take it, I'll break it out. Here's a
There
Band-Aid.
there you go. I mean,
It
no
helps.
experience is lost on us. And I always tell my
Ever.
actors, like, go out and live and try different things.
That's
And I had
right.
10 billion actor jobs, just like your car
Yes.
dealership made me laugh because I've had so many random jobs like that.
Yeah.
And it makes us who we are and it helps us understand other actors that we work with that are going, having those jobs. Thank God I found teaching. If not, I would
Yes.
probably still have five very interesting jobs right now,
That's
which,
right.
it is what it
It
is.
keeps you humble though. It keeps
Yes.
you humble and it is to me it translates as by any means necessary. I'm going to do what I love, but in the meantime, you have to be logical in how you're going to get there. and eventually you will. And I feel like what a lot of parents, what I tell my students' parents is that, you know, don't don't sever the dream before they get there. Allow them to flow with things as they come, because you don't want to tell a child if they book right away, oh, this is always going to happen. This is your big break. It's like
Hmm.
there are ebbs and flows to this, and you have to be able to like go with the flow, go with the current. Right now you have a job, next year you may not. You'll be on set all year and then you don't, and so that's what you're signing up for. Ultimately, you're signing up for the ebbs and flows.
The roller coaster, I agree. I like ebbs
Hmm.
and flow. It's a little bit more gentle than a roller coaster, which
Than
is
a roller
sometimes
coaster.
feels like. But you're
But
right. And
that's
and one of
truthful.
yes, but one of the things
Mhm.
that's not discussed that I try to do with my students is, how do you cope? What do you do in your time? How do you stay an artist? How do you support yourself? How do you mentally stay inspired? So I'll throw that question
Mm.
out to you. How do you stay inspired?
I'm not gonna lie and say that it's always a given. And I'm very transparent with my students when it comes to that as well, because I don't want anyone to feel like, well, then, my teacher told me that I should be feeling this way and I'm not, so what does that mean? Um, I think the best thing to do is to release yourself of auditions as they happen, release yourself of those moments when you are on set. It's like live in the moment, be in the moment, but when it's done, let it go. Don't have any expectations or hold on to anything, at all. And in between time, still practice your craft as much as you possibly can. Still study people. Do things that you love outside of it, because it helps you to cope when you're not always in it. So for me, that's teaching. It keeps me grounded. It keeps me connected to people. It keeps me on my toes when it comes to acting, when I'm reading with them. It keeps, I say still do things that you love. Don't go running off doing anything that you don't if you don't have to. Um, but a lot of them, because they don't, we do the audition and I say, how do you feel about it? And they go, oh, I really, really want it. I'm like, you're gonna always really, really want it. It's never gonna be a time as an actor that you're going to walk in somewhere and be like, you know what, this means nothing to me. So I say, do your very best in the room, treat it as if you've booked it, and when it's done, it's done. You have to let it go,
Right.
and then do what you can to pay your bills, to stay afloat as much as possible. But if you can work on a lot, or if you can on a set, or if your thing is hair and makeup, and still do those things to keep you in practice, but get paid for it until you get paid to do what you love.
Fantastic advice. I was
Yeah.
wondering, the project that we did together, I mean, you were the star. How is it coming off of a project? Because we talk about how do you leave an audition, but
Mm.
did you just need like time alone after that? Or how do you go from all that attention and all that commitment and camaraderie to,
Yes.
how do you exit that?
You're right. I needed alone time because that was my second time shooting the film. So I'm not gonna go too far into it, but there were some things where we had to go back and shoot the entire film again. And I was the lead in another film, a Christmas film that's gonna come out, called The Christmas Ringer. Hopefully the strike is completely over by then. But we shot the Christmas Ringer in between shooting the second version of 8 Days to Cabo. So after 8 Days to Cabo, I was in dire need of just laying on my couch for an entire week.
Entire week.
Um,
Wow.
yeah, it took a lot out of me. I was in Atlanta for 3 weeks, as the lead, not having the script, no more than just being on set. I did not get the script ahead of time, so I was having to go off book
Oof,
daily.
that is
And then
challenging.
Oh, it was, but you know what it did though? It's exactly what I tell my students. What it did was it helped me to realize that number one, this is what I want to do. I love it. And number two, because I used to always say, I have a terrible memory. I have a terrible memory. But it helped me to reel that in. And I said, you know what? When my back is up against the wall, I can do this,
Yes,
you know?
I do know.
Which that's where we live. We rest in that chaos just a little bit. It helps us to kind of
Yes.
to be better at it for some reason.
I have a very famous actor friend who said that he likes not knowing the lines so well
Oof.
because it really keeps him discovering in the moment and fresh. And I'm wondering, did that happen?
Yes. Um, absolutely. Because well, number one, because I was just getting the lines the night before and then having to go on set and just deliver them, you're absolutely right. It because number one, your first choice is usually the best choice, and then you end up overthinking it, and then you end up acting it, which is not good. So a lot of the things that we did was on first and second takes. Like you had two
Wow.
takes and then they had to move on because they were already behind
Mm-hmm.
somehow with
Mm-hmm.
filming it, which was why I didn't get the script on time. So it's like I didn't have a chance to overcorrect myself. I had to live in that moment. I had to stay present. And for me, that's necessary because I overthink naturally.
Well, there you go. It worked out in your
Hmm.
favor.
It did. It
Anything
did.
can happen on a set. I always tell my students, like, anything can happen. You
Yes,
never know. You don't know if you're going to get a supportive director, if you're going to get a
that's
hands
right.
off director. You have to really take care of yourself, be
Hmm.
responsible for your own instrument,
Hmm.
and for your own mentality, how you approach it, how you show up at set. What keeps you so seemingly positive?
Oof. I think I'm naturally from the South. And so we are natural givers of our spirit. We love walking in and going, "Hi, everyone. I'm Trenyce." You always introduce yourself. You always make the other person feel comfortable. And as a person that was number one on the call sheet twice now, um, it sets the tone
Mm-hmm.
for the entire set, cast and crew. Whatever I feel like walking in, that's what the day is going to feel like, and I learned from the best. I have some really, really great mentors that are in this industry, Shirley Ralph being one of them, Jack A. Harry being another, who I've been able to take a back seat and watch them thrive and go to dinners with them and have phone calls and all kinds of things. And they've kind of like taught me how to be on set, how you're supposed to present yourself and even if you're not number one, you walk in and you give the energy that you want back because these people are, it's chaos backstage. You know that, it's usually chaos. And not until the lights turn on and the cameras are flickering do things kind of come together. And sometimes it doesn't, so whatever is happening leading up to that is so important, and it's imperative that everyone stays in that moment and is locked in. I mean, whether we were together for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, or 2 hours or 2 days, if we're there in that moment, there's something that we have to convey on camera within seconds. Like we didn't even get a chance to fully read together,
I know. I
but
actually
because
got the
we,
dialogue and learned it on the car, in the
oh,
car.
oh
But
my gosh, you were great. You were
thank you.
great though.
Well, I had you, to work with, and you are gracious and you take on that role really well and take
Oh, thank you.
responsibility for making that set
Thank
the
you.
best place it
Thank
can
you.
be. And that's why we had such a good experience. And it's so important
Yeah.
for actors to be generous and
Yes.
supportive.
Yes,
It's it's
absolutely.
it's the
Because I
best
didn't
way to
know
be.
you were just, yeah, I didn't know you were just learning it. So even that, like not knowing whether you were nervous, super nervous or not, or whether you had your lines down pat, it doesn't matter. It's just we know what we want to come across that screen. And so it's my job, if I've been there the longest, to kind of welcome you into our house, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
and say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, take your shoes off. This is a place of peace and
It's
understanding. So let's do it.
so nice when you get that. I remember as a very young actress, Angela Lansbury did that for me. Welcome me.
Ah,
I didn't even know what hit your mark meant. I was a baby.
wow.
What
Wow.
about you? Who was like a big actor, a lead in a project you did that gave you that kind of welcome mat?
I'm gonna say it was Jack A, and it was theater. Jack A. Harry played my mother in a show called Not a Day Goes By. And it was my very first theatrical production. I was the lead. I kept telling the director, listen, you don't want me. I'm not an actress. There's so many people out here. And she's like, yes, you can do this because she's a singer. She's a Broadway star, and that's what you're gonna be. And I was just like, eh. And I didn't know stage slaps and you know um emoting and taking care of your voice, even if it's just dialogue. I had no idea. And Jack A. Harry took the time out to invite me into her space in her hotel room and everything, to rehearse the lines until it felt natural. She spoke to me. She spoke words of affirmation
Oh,
um,
wow.
for me. But she also dug into me because she said, listen, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. They could have had anyone come in here and play this role, and you're here for a reason. So take it seriously. And then after this, go take class so that you can keep the integrity of what you're doing. And I was like, absolutely, absolutely. And after that, I had the bug, and I said, oh, there's no way that I could take another role without deep diving into what it means to be a complete and total actress. I just didn't feel safe doing that. And that's what I did. And we've been friends ever since.
Oh, that's beautiful. What a beautiful
Mm-hmm.
story.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a certain technique you studied or a certain teacher that really was influential as an actress?
Meisner, I know, was one of the techniques that I studied the most.
Hmm.
And then oh gosh, I am terrible with names. Who did I go to? Ivana Chubbuck's class.
Uh-huh.
I
Sure.
took Ivana Chubbuck for quite some time.
Very well
And then I
well
had a
respected teacher.
one-on-one, very well respected. And then
Hmm.
I had oh, what's Faith's last name? Then I had this incredible one-on-one teacher named Faith, and she's who I had during COVID, because I kept saying, I want to stay in class, because if I don't stay in class, how will I know if I'm going to be ready once the auditions start back up?
Right.
And it
Same
was
with
it
me.
was perfect.
And even right
That
now
was a
with the
great decision.
strike, how are you staying fresh with during the strike?
Well, right now I am I'm performing all over the country with a singing group called Divas 3.
Ooh.
So it's while everyone else is on pause, I'm traveling and doing the music thing, which is another thing that I tell my students to do. Use all your gifts,
Mm.
all of them, because you never know when one's going to be sat down to the side, and then you can continue to work on the other. So right now, music is saving the day, and auditions for voiceover and things like that have kind of been coming in. And yeah, I've been able to do that. But
Where
yeah.
can we see you? Where's the next place you're performing?
Oh my gosh, I want to say it's Italy again.
Italy
Nowhere
again.
in,
I
I
love
know. I just
it.
came back from, I know, oh, that sounds so, oh my gosh.
No,
But I
it's
did, I
cute.
just came back, I just came back from Italy.
I thought you were gonna say
And
like, L.A. or New
yeah, yeah.
York, and you're like Italy.
San Diego, Pasadena. No, no, I do a lot of singing overseas.
Are there CDs or MP3s or are you Apple Music? Like, where do we find you?
Yes, yes, I'm on SoundCloud, and I'm also on Apple Music. I have sort of like a jazz album on Apple Music that isn't my favorite, but a lot of people say that they love it. I have a single out called In the End, which is a song that I released during the pandemic. that is all about, no matter what we're going through right now, everything will be fine on the other side. Just keep the faith sort of song. It's an anthem. So yeah, please, please, please go there, download it. And it's something you can dance around your living room to when you're not feeling like your absolute best.
Okay. I need that. I need
Yeah.
that. I'm
Yeah.
going to get it. Thank you so much.
Thank
I,
you.
I told you that I might ask you if you could do something acoustic.
Yeah.
Might it be a line from that song?
I was gonna say that actually would be great. The song and the lyrics are amazing. The song goes, I know you can't help it, misunderstood. The road it gets so lonely when you're trying to do what's good. But I see behind your eyes. The world has held you in her arms. If you let her go, it seems as if you will just drift into the sea. But trust me, you must believe. Everywhere you turn and everybody's looking, judging, criticize, making statements, hesitating, printing stories falsified. Understand me when I tell you truth gets buried in the lies. Babe, you better open your eyes. 'Cause everything will be, will be, will be, will be alright. Everything will be, will be, will be, will be alright in the end.
That was so beautiful.
Ah,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I really needed that today. Thank
Oh,
you.
Rachel, anytime. You have such a sweet soul. I couldn't
Beautiful.
not do this for you. I know it took a long time, but I was like, I've got to get to her. I do.
Thank you. I know it has been a while, and I've been following you, like trotting all over the world and doing your thing and rooting you on.
Thank you.
Follow Trenyce on Instagram. Follow her journey. She is so alive, so full of joy. Like your joy
Thank you.
bounces off your page and your pictures,
I
and
love that.
I'm just so happy to know you, and thank you for coming on my podcast today.
Oh, it's been
That was lovely.
such a pleasure and an honor to do so. Thank you so much for having me.
I look forward to seeing what's next. Everyone, follow Trenyce. Stay in touch with Trenyce.
Yes,
And
please.
until the next time. Yes.
So good to see you.
Thank you, Trenyce. And what a thrill to hear your beautiful voice on my podcast. That is definitely a first. If you'd like to hear more of these inspirational podcasts, please visit my website at diaryofanactress.com. Until the next time, stay inspired.